We are ready to go. Can everybody hear me? Got some fun music starting. Who's excited? Yay, webinar. Everybody ready? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. I'm going to turn the music off, even though it's a great intro. And we'll get going. We are jamming. We're doing vocabulary today. If you're excited, say, I'm excited! If you're excited, say, I'm excited! So, Toto de tea. Okay, here we go. Let's get this party started. Alright, was that a fun way to get you guys a little intro? What do you guys think? Get a little Latin music flavor to get this Wednesday morning started. I figure it's a little more exciting than normal. Toto de tea. Who knows that song? If you know that song, be like, I know that song, right? I know that song. If you know that song. Okay. So from exciting music, we got an awful first word. Foreclosure. Ugh. What a terrible first word, right? Okay, so tell me about foreclosure. Who could tell me anything they know about foreclosure? What do you guys think? Foreclosure. Congratulations, Jules Loyola Service, on passing. Okay, what's a foreclosure? So, foreclosure is the process to satisfy the debt, to basically sell your home, right? They're recovering that debt. Okay? Who could tell me a little about the mortgage process? Tabitha Garcia says you can't hear me. The rest of you guys can hear me, right? If you can hear me, say I can hear you. So Tabitha Garcia knows she just needs to change something so she could join us. I want everybody to be able to hear me. Okay, so the mortgage process. Who is the mortgagor? Who's the mortgagor? What do you guys think? Who's the mortgagor? The mortgagor is the borrower. Good. The mortgagor is the borrower. Why do they have an OR name? Why? Because we learned OR is the giver, right? So why does the mortgagor have the OR and not a EE? What do you guys think? I think you will, Paris Drake. I think you got this. Do some exam questions too, though. Don't just rely on the vocabulary. Okay, Haiti Bonilla, borrower and lender is not the same. The mortgagor is the borrower because they're giving that pledge. Nice job, Bree Wall. Great job. The mortgagor is the OR because they're giving that pledge. Remember that OR. Lessor, vendor, optionor, giveor, proprietor, for your pleasure. Lessee, vendee, optionee, grantee, give me property, makes me happy. OR gives, EE receives. Everybody got that? And when you think of a loan, you think about the bank giving you money, but before they give you money, they have to receive that pledge. Do you guys remember that a mortgage at its core is a pledge? I think we read somewhere a while ago that the literal origination of the word is death pledge. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that's correct. My point is, it's a pledge. Okay, so you make that pledge of the property, saying if I don't pay you, you could take this property, right, guys? And then the bank will lend you the money. And if you don't pay them back, or remember that property pledge, that brings us to that foreclosure that we see, right, guys? That's what we see on the board right now. Because you pledge that property, say if I don't pay you, you could take this property. They take this property, through the process of foreclosure. Everybody got that? Right? I got it, Joe. I feel smarter already. I was kind of dumb 10 minutes ago, but now I'm a genius. Okay. Construction loan. Construction loan. Okay, construction loan is an interim loan. And what I mean by an interim loan is that it's a short-term loan that's done during the construction period. When the construction period is done, it converts to what's called a takeout loan, which is a form of a long-term loan. Everybody got that? So it's short-term financing. I see somebody says the worst loan. And that's because, as it says on the board, it's because they're pretty risky and they have high interest rates. But they're really only meant to be there for a short time. So I believe Jamie Muller, but when you said it's the worst loan, that's why, because it's a risky loan. As you guys learned, when a loan is risky, the interest rate goes up. Your interest rate is directly related to how much risk you are. Everybody got that right? I got it. I got it. Let's sing my song once more, just for fun. Lessor, vendor, optionor, the grantor, the giver, the proprietor for your pleasure. Lessee, vendee, optionee, grantee, gives me property, makes me happy. Mona says, any advice past the exam? That's what this whole webinar is, Mona. I know English is not your first language, but I think that applies to a lot of us, which is why it's so important you memorize the vocabulary. I give you guys everything I got, I promise. There's no secrets I'm keeping from you. How many people here, raise your hand if English is your second language? So we know that Mona's not alone. So she knows she's got peers going through the same thing, so we could all get through this together. Anybody else going through that struggle? If English is your second language, try and take this test. It's good to have support so we know we're not alone in this. So you see, Mona, you got friends with you. You're not alone. You could do it. All right, for all you guys who have English as your second language, the key thing is that you memorize the vocabulary. And for those guys that English is your first language, just think of it when you learn another language, okay? You always start with the vocabulary and you plug things in. And this is a second language. This is why we're doing a webinar on vocabulary, just so we're clear. And this is why I say remember 5 vocabulary words every morning. This is why we have vocabulary worksheet. A big part of the Prep Agent philosophy really focuses a lot on vocabulary. And when I learned a new language, when I started, I would learn like comida, comer. I wouldn't understand everything, but I knew if I heard the word comida and comer, I'm like, okay, I don't know everything, but somebody's eating food and that's happening. I'm not sure exactly, but I know some form of eating is going to happen, eating food. Okay, I know if somebody said buenos dias to me, I knew they were greeting me. I didn't know everything they were saying, but I knew it was a friendly greeting, and it builds from there. Same thing when you study for this real estate exam. You may not know the whole context of everything, but if you know certain key words like I just demonstrated, okay, you will be able to understand basically what they're asking about. Does that make sense? So if this is in the language of legalese for you, if you understand some vocabulary and you could pull out certain key words, you can understand the context. Just like if I hear Spanish speakers say, blah, 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 comida, blah, 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 comer, I'd be like, I don't know what they're talking about, but I know we're eating. So let's go. Answer A, eating, good to go. Everybody got that? And that's, I think it's a pretty good example. Hopefully you guys see my point with that. Okay, let's move on. Constructive fraud. What's constructive fraud? What is constructive fraud? Good luck, Marisol. Constructive fraud. So the big thing about constructive fraud is intent does not need to be shown. Everybody saw that? Oh, I accidentally clicked on it. My bad. But constructive fraud is you don't necessarily have to have intent to commit fraud. It could be a big whoops. All right? It could be an accident. Hey, freehold estate. What's a freehold estate? This comes up on your exam quite a bit. Freehold estate. Freehold estate is undefined ownership. So you have a freehold estate, and then you have under that, you have a fee simple absolute, fee simple defeasible, and a life estate, right? So indefinite in duration. What is a fee simple absolute estate? So that's a type of freehold estate, all right, guys? So what is a fee simple absolute estate? Esmeralda says, I get my estates confused. Esmeralda, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of memory techniques for this. Some of it, you just got to like sit down and look at it over and over again until it sticks. If I think of an awesome acronym for it, I'll get that to you. But right now, best thing I'd say is just, unfortunately, it's one of those you just got to look it over again and again. So I love that Kyler said highest form of ownership. He did not say absolute ownership. Great job, Kyler. Okay, and because it is the maximum, but it's not free from all encumbrances. Everybody got that? A fee simple absolute estate is not free from all encumbrances. Why? What encumbrances could exist when you have a fee simple absolute estate? What do you guys think? So you could have taxes. What else could you have? You could have police power. You could have eminent domain and the power of escheat. So what am I referring to? I'm referring to the government powers. The most popular one you guys refer to is taxes. But what are the 4 government powers? What are the 4 government powers? What do you guys think? Police power, eminent domain, taxation, and escheat. Police power, eminent domain, taxation, and escheat. And you remember the acronym PEAT. Everybody got that? PEAT. Police power, eminent domain, taxation, and escheat. Police power, eminent domain, taxation, and escheat. Everybody got that? So this is an encumbrance because, for example, if the government said, you know what, we need to put a building code here saying that you need to have handrail stairs, you can't be like, no, I got a freehold estate. Beat it. Leave me alone. Freehold estate, learned it when I was studying for the real estate exam. Get out of here. You and your stupid building codes and zoning requirements. Freehold estate in your face. All right, could you do that? No. The governor would say, even though you have a fee simple absolute estate, you don't have absolute ownership. You're still encumbered by our rights of police power. And police power can mean things like zoning and building codes. Eminent domain, which means we could take it away from you and pay just compensation. We could tax you, and if you die, we could take it over. Good example. What do you guys think? We're doing good? I feel like we got some good energy this morning. Which leads me to this. What's this? And this is why I clicked through to this one, because I knew it was relevant to what I just said. So this is relevant to what I was talking about, which is why I clicked through to here. So what's this all about? Inverse condemnation. So inverse condemnation is when under eminent domain, the government takes the property away from you. But in eminent domain, what must happen? Just compensation must be paid, right, guys? And that process is called condemnation. So therefore, if just compensation is not paid, you can actually sue the government through the process of inverse condemnation. Everybody got that? Say, I got it, Joe. So it's inverse condemnation, all right, guys? So condemnation is when you get the property through eminent domain. Think of it. When a property is condemned, you can't use it anymore, right, guys? When you commonly hear in your day-to-day life, and try and relate this to your day-to-day life, a lot of this stuff is more relevant than you guys realize, okay? So when you hear a property is condemned, what does it mean? You can't use it. So the process of condemnation is the government's power under eminent domain to say you can't use this anymore, but we'll pay you just compensation. Does that make sense, guys? Maybe that's a memory technique. Some of you guys are looking for memory techniques. Maybe that one helps. So they pay you just compensation. If they don't pay you, you could sue the government through the process of inverse condemnation. All right. Okay, good. And that's the big difference between eminent domain and police power. Police power, everybody, I hope you're writing this down. This is important. They tell you how to use the property, but they don't give you money. Eminent domain, money's exchanged. Everybody got that? That's the big difference. A lot of times I get asked, what's the fundamental difference between police power and eminent domain? And the answer is money. Police power, they'll tell you how to use the property through things like building codes, rent control, zoning, all that kind of stuff. But they're not taking the property away from you, therefore no money needs to be paid. All right? Eminent domain, they're taking property away from you, therefore money is exchanged. Everybody got that? Somebody says, if I don't know the answer, what should I do? I don't know. How religious are you? Maybe pray? No. I don't know. There's certain tricks. Like they say, always circle the longest answer. When in doubt, go with C. But I really don't want you guys sitting on your exam and just going through the longest answer all the time. Be like, oh, just that's the longest one, that's the longest one, and just keep like hitting the longest answer all through your exam. Although it would be kind of funny if that actually worked. Never really tested it. But that's the general gist of it. If you don't know the answer, go with the longest one. But please don't use that as your test-taking strategy. Just study, do it right, and you'll be fine. You guys are like, whatever, circling the longest answer every time. Okay, so everybody should get this really quick. We just went over this, so write down what condemnation is. We just did this, so please, if you guys don't get this right in the chat, I'm going to cry because we just talked about this. So tell me what you know about condemnation. Please, 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 guys, don't break my heart. Everybody write this down because we just went over it. Show me you were paying attention. This is when the government takes your property and gives you compensation. Good. Excellent. What is an acceleration clause in a loan? What is an acceleration clause in a loan? Ruby Morales says, Joe, help. I've taken the test twice. I'm up for a third attempt. That's what I'm doing now, Ruby. I'm helping. Is this not helping? Don't go breaking my heart. That's why you're at the webinar. Okay, an acceleration clause. The bank's right to say, give us all the money now. The loan is called. They say the loan is called. Okay, so very often this happens if you do something to jeopardize the property, like miss payments on your taxes or make the property uninhibitable. Basically, if you're ruining the bank's collateral, remember how we started today's webinar? We were talking about that foreclosure. If they're doing something that says, you know what, that leverage we had, that property, it's in jeopardy. So we're going to call this loan immediately. There's a lot of reasons they could do this, which we're not going to get into today. But that's the gist of it. They feel like something's going on to jeopardize the security of that debt. So they're going to be like, give me the money. What is a lease pendants? Jay Pauly says, is a due on sale considered an acceleration clause? Due on sale is specific to the sale and the transfer of the property, Jay Pauly. Acceleration does not necessarily have to be related to a property transfer or a sale. Hope that makes sense. So Jay Pauly, the due on sale clause is specific to when a property is being transferred, that you have to pay off the debt. Where an acceleration clause does not have to be related to the property being transferred. Lease pendants is Latin for lawsuit pending. Lawsuit pending. Good. And what this essentially means that, let me put it in real life terms, okay? How about we put this in real life terms instead of some fancy legal mumbo jumbo, okay? I go to buy your property. You go to sell your property, but your former spouse doesn't know that you're going to sell, and all of a sudden they find out and say, wait a minute, I still have interest in that property. You can't sell it yet. Remember our deal when we got divorced or whatever it was, or maybe we didn't finish the documents or the transfer wasn't done or whatever their reason may be, they could chime in and slap a lease pendants on that, a lawsuit pending. So basically, I, as the buyer, am sitting here twiddling my thumbs until you and your ex make it clear who owns the property. Because a lease pendants, okay, basically is an argument over who owns it. Does everybody get that? That's essentially what it's about. And what I gave you is a pretty real life example of when this comes up. When somebody goes to sell it, and there was somebody else who had interest in the property at one time or another, who comes in and says, whoa, hold on. And the one who really loses in that is the innocent buyer who had no part of that. They put an offer down, all of a sudden they're sitting there waiting for this whole thing to get worked out, which could unfortunately take a long time. What other Latin have you guys learned for your exam? What other Latin have you guys learned for your exam? La, 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 la. What other Latin have you learned for your exam? Pure otro vi for the life of another. Nice job, Diana. Nova is Latin for new. Good. Ad valorem is according to value. Caveat emptor is buyer beware. Nice job, guys. Let's see, we got some people who've been studying. If you haven't been studying and you're worried about the exam, I could take it for you. Send me PayPal. just send me an email. I'll take the exam for you. It's no problem. Just send it an email at joe@stopcheatingandstart-studying. I would not do that. Are you guys kidding? How many of you guys started writing down my email when I said that? Cheaters. You're like, joe@stopcheatingandstart. Wait, what? All right. I mean, how many of you guys were like, oh my God, okay, here it comes. Joe at, wait for it. You started like getting your pen and pausing the whole video. Yeah. Send me an email to joe@you're a big cheater and you should be ashamed of yourself.com. Okay, here we go. Stigmatized property. But honestly, how many of you guys are like, I know he's kidding, but just in case, I'm totally writing this down, just in case. Okay, stigmatized property. What do you guys think? It's a haunted house. Woo! What are the statute of frauds? Statute of frauds. Statute of frauds dictates what what contracts must be in writing. What contracts must be in writing. Statute of frauds have to do what must be in writing. Everybody ready for a difficult question? Who's ready for a difficult question? Say, bring it, Joe. It's time to step up and give me a difficult question. If a property must be in writing and is not in writing, what is the status of that contract? The property must be in writing, but is not in writing. What is the status of that contract? If a contract must be in writing, but is not in writing. Some of you guys are getting this wrong. Tamara Shannon, big high five to you for writing unenforceable. Good. Why is it not void? Why is void? Okay, what are the four essentials of a valid contract? What are the four essentials of a valid contract? Everybody write to me right now, the four essentials of a valid contract. What are the four essentials of a valid contract? Everybody write that down. That was a good question, right, guys? It's a tough one. I got you guys. The four essentials are capable parties, lawful object, offer and acceptance, and consideration. Nothing about writing, right, guys? Nothing about writing. Does everybody get that? You just wrote the four essentials, and you did not say writing. The four essentials are lawful object, capable parties, agreement, and consideration. Okay? Agreements often said offer and acceptance. Everybody get that? And the reason is because not all contracts need to be in writing. For example, when you go sit at a restaurant and you order food, there's an implied contract that you're going to pay the prices on the menu. They can't give you a hamburger and say it's $10. You're like, no, I didn't agree to that. We didn't write anything down. It's implied. That's a contract. Okay? When property is transferred, like real estate, it needs to be in writing. But they don't always say that in the question. Everybody got that? So be careful. Everybody be careful. So not all contracts need to be in writing. For it to be valid or void, that applies to all contracts. If a contract is missing consideration, it's void. It doesn't matter what type, where, or what. There's no exceptions to that. There are exceptions to what could be in writing and what not. Does everybody get that? All right, that was a good one. I feel like I got you guys. Everybody right now, give me an example of physical deterioration. Physical deterioration. Okay, the roof is falling apart, not taking care of the basic things. So physical deterioration is a form of depreciation, right, guys? Can you give me the other two forms of depreciation that you learn when studying for the real estate exam? What are the other two forms of depreciation you learn when studying for the real estate exam? Economic obsolescence and functional obsolescence. Good. I would like you guys to give me an example of economic obsolescence. Give me an example of economic obsolescence. Give me an airport next to you, good. A pandemic, excellent. Crime in the neighborhood, everything outside the property line. Sometimes you'll hear the word extraneous to the property, so be aware if you see that word. The word is extraneous. Okay, that's economic obsolescence. By the way, if you guys see the prep agent Instagram, I've been posting people who passed. If you guys want to be on that wall, just let me know after you pass. I'll post your picture. Those people who I posted have been getting a lot of great traction on their Instagram profile because I link their profile in the notes and I tag them in the picture. So they get some good followers and attention, which is great. Everybody wins. So if you want that after you pass, just send a nice picture with your pass slip. I'll post it on the prep agent wall and I'll link back to your new real estate profile and get you some likes and followers right out of the gates. Okay, so we said economic obsolescence, we said physical deterioration. Give me an example of functional obsolescence. Functional obsolescence. Functional obsolescence. All right, if you guys don't know, the prep agent Instagram is this. I'll put this up here. That's it. Okay, it's from poor design. So, 5-bedroom house with 1 bathroom, example of functional obsolescence. Caveat emptor. We went over that before. Who knows what the answer? Just send it, Tanya, just send it to our Instagram profile. We'll get it. Caveat emptor is Latin for buyer beware. Good. Just so you guys know, this does not apply to commercial. This more applies to residential. So residential real estate has this caveat emptor, which means that the buyer beware. Commercial, they're supposed to know better. So they're not exempt from making stupid choices, where the residential, you get a pass on certain dumb choices you make. It's assumed that you're innocent. Option or. What's an option or? Option or. What's an option or? Option or means they're giving an option. Optionee receives an option. Very often you hear this in the context of a lease option. meaning you could rent this house and you have the option to buy it at a later date. So then the tenant becomes an optionee because they have that option to buy it. And the owner is the optionor, they're given that option. What is a discount point? What is a discount point? Victoria, an optionor is giving an option to purchase. Optionee receives an option, which means they do not have to buy the property. And usually when that contract is written, there's consequences if they don't buy it, but they still have the option. A point is a percentage of the loan amount. A percentage of the loan amount. Good job, everybody. Eminent domain, we went over this earlier. What's eminent domain? What did we say eminent domain was? We said it was part of the 4 government powers. Who here could tell me about eminent domain? Anybody? Anybody? Eminent domain is the government power where they could take the property from you, right? They give just compensation through that process of condemnation that we mentioned before. All right? All right, great job, guys. Okay, so that music means we're winding up. Give you a little motivation before you leave today. I hope you guys enjoyed the webinar today. We had some good energy, learned some good things. Cynthia is on Monday and Tuesday. Stu is Thursday and Friday. All right? So I hope everybody has an amazing day. Yeah, dance that salsa. Get ready to go. Remember your vocab every morning. De nada, Ruby. You guys got this. Stu will do a webinar in math if you need one, Sandy. If you guys need a math webinar, just request it. You know what? For Sandy, we're scheduling a webinar on math next week. Todo de ti. All right, guys. Ciao.